Hey guys, Mike Tierney here from Princess Auto. Welcome to Tech Tips with Mike T. We're talking about log splitters. So you might be in the market for a log splitter. Tons of options there in the market. You've got lots to choose from. Where do you start? So we typically look at things like the type of wood that we want to split, the quantity of wood that we want to have, whether it's home heating, is it I'm at a camp, what is it you want to do with that quantity of wood? Also, what power sources do you might have? So lots of options to choose from. Typically, you've got the model that we've got in front of us here. It's a gas unit, so it's quite a bit more portable. There are also kinetic log splitters that use a rack and pinion instead of a hydraulic system. So if you're a little nervous about handling hydraulics, kinetic systems are out on the market, as well as some plug-in models. So 120 volt tabletop or frame top little log splitters that, if you've got a fire pit out back and you just want to split a little bit of wood for the season, those are great options too. So as you start to look at their capacities, so quite often they're rated for their tonnage. So 37 ton, 10 ton, 5 ton, all of the different tons. That's just basically the strength at full design of the log splitter when they start talking about, specifically the hydraulics and how much the capacity of the hydraulic cylinder can do. The reason there are so many is because there's different size components and the cylinder comes in different sizes, so that's all calculated by the manufacturers and the designers. So when you're looking at a different log splitter from our products to another company's products, it's just important to start looking at what are you going to really need out of it. So in the case that we have here, we've got a couple of sample logs. How long are the logs that you're going to split? So if you're trying to maximize the depth in your fireplace and you've got a fairly large fireplace that you can fit over 18-inch logs, you might be looking at a log splitter that is slightly larger on its stroke length. Also, when it comes to the type of wood, so if we've got freshly cut pine or spruce or birch, those are fairly easy to split as they start to dry out. So if it's seasoned wood and you're splitting it, the power required isn't as much. But if you get into some gnarly woods, so heavy, knots, black oak, those kinds of, species of woods, that really puts a lot of strain on a log splitter. So if you're selecting a log splitter that's a little bit undersized and you're trying to do some pretty heavy, logs on it, you can damage, whether it's the blade that's going to be splitting. Maybe it's the actual bed. They can bend if you're not operating it properly. We've even seen welds crack over time if you're trying to split wood that's the log splitter is not designed to. So when you select them, basically look at what kind of activities you're going to want to do with your log splitter. From there, you can get different features. So in the case of this unit, we're going to go over some of the features that are specifically to this unit, but also fairly common when it comes to many of the other log splitters out there. So this unit is a gas-driven product. So we use a power plant that's been supplied. It also uses a hydraulic system. So there's lots of components to a hydraulic system. We're just going to touch on a few key features. It also has, in this case, a catch. So a log catch allows you to preload a log, or as you're splitting, instead of it falling on your shins and on your toes, it can catch some of the log there for you to pick up and move as you need. The splitter itself is a one-way splitter. So there are other splitters on the market. There are two-way splitting. In this case, this is a single way splitting. But the beauty about a lot of these types of log splitters is they have a control valve that allows you to extend and retract. But there's an added feature in this model where you can just lock your handle in place on retraction. So you don't actually have to hold the handle down. You can actually just push it in place, it detents into the position, and then on retraction you can do what you need to do to either remove the logs that you've just split or add logs on, clean up the bed, whatever it is that you need, and it will automatically kick out of position when it's fully retracted. So that's the beauty about that. They call them kickoff valves. They are replaceable. They do, if you've got many years on your log splitter, valves do go over time, just as any other component might, but you can get replacements for these fairly easy. They are fairly popular on the market. As we start to look through the hydraulic systems, you'll notice that you'll see some hoses and conductors have a kind of a protective braiding or a spiral over them. That's to help protect the hose itself. Some have metal tubing. So every supplier is slightly different. You may find that you have all hoses. You may find that it's all, where there's no pinch points, all steel tubing. That's just different options when it comes to the different manufacturers or suppliers. You also have a large cylinder. So in this case, we have a cylinder that has a clevis end, and that mounts to a stationary position. And then you've got your cylinder the rod attached to the cutting wedge, and that will extend out and split your log. There are other forms of that. Sometimes it's actually the wedge that's on the back plate. Sometimes it's just a push. So it just depends on the supplier again, and the price points that you're looking at. As we start to move through, you'll notice that there's a lot of different fittings that connect. This model here has a really nice, easy, you don't have to add thread sealant tape to the threads. This one here, you can just tighten the nut up, and it uses what they call a JIC connection. So it's a very simple connection when you're assembling it. Just make sure that when you get it home, whether it's pre-built out of the store, you've gone in and the store has already put it together, or you're getting it out of a package and you've got to put this, all of the tires and some of the hydraulic stuff has to be assembled. Make sure that you tighten all of the components before you add any oil or start it up. Hydraulic oil can be slightly dangerous if it leaks out and you don't want to have an oil injection injury. So just verify all the nuts. Even if you're using it, you put it away for a while, you go and tow it back out to the bush, just maybe verify that nothing has backed off before you start using it again. So just really simple connections. This model also has an option when it comes to how we split. So as we're sitting here, this is a horizontal split plane that we're looking at right now, but there is a pin at the front where we can just pull the pin and we can actually turn that log splitter up vertically. So if you prefer to split in a vertical plane, you have that option with this model. And then when you're going to travel with it, or if you want to go back to horizontal, the bed will just come down, a pin will lock it in, and you can split that way or travel with it that way. So neat little options. Not all the log splitters have that option. Obviously, as you get higher in price points and more features, quite a few of these log splitters will allow you to go to a vertical plane. When it comes to the other hydraulic components, we're going to turn around the unit and have a look at the business end of the hydraulics. So now that we're on this side, the business end side of the log splitter, basically there's some components, again, the hydraulic components. We got our hoses coming in for our inputs, and we have our return hoses. This model here also has a hydraulic spin-on low pressure filter, so it's a great idea to make sure that your oil is filtered out throughout your season. That will help prolong your log splitter hydraulic system for many years to come. And then you've got a suction line. So They're all attached to the pump, so the pump is what's going to, increase the flow to the cylinder, and that will allow your cylinder to extend. It's important to make sure that, again, all of these fittings, there's quite a few fittings, you want to make sure that they are all tight. When it comes to moving your log splitters, a large log splitter like this can be somewhat hard to handle. It does have a coupler on the front, so it'll allow you to tow it. But you shouldn't be towing these on any provincial highways. As you can see here, the hub assembly doesn't actually have lug nuts, so it can't handle the high speeds and the stresses when you're towing it down the highways. So great for ATV, lawn tractor, UTVs, all of those types of equipment, or if you're attaching it to a vehicle, you're slow moving through the wood lot or wherever it is that you are going to move this through. So again, just keep in mind, these are for only low speed traveling, and you want to make sure that you don't tow these on any provincial or federal highways. Outside of that, basically some models will also have a toolkit that's waterproof, and then many other features vary depending on that type of log splitter you're looking at. When you purchase your log splitter, you're not going to have any oil in your reservoir. Make sure that you fill it up and you pre-prime your pump not to damage the pump.